Developed, tested, and perfected by me, Kel Kellogg. Turbo Flashers. Turbocharge your trout trolling today by going over to fishhuntshoot.com and picking up a set of my Turbo Flashers. You won't regret it. They'll help you catch more and bigger fish. They've done that for me, and they'll do that for you. Ooh, this one he's fighting like crazy. That is a fisheye flasher and a threaded worm behind a micro turbo. He's a fighter. Putting out maximum flash, maximum vibration. Look at that fight. Good Lord. Doing his best to get in that other line. Oh yeah. He is a fighter. Oh, nice fish. Nice fatty here. Oh. Wow, he is not giving up. Look at that. There we go. Whoa, yeah. Man. Bite is definitely a little slower here, but that fisheye flasher combined with that micro turbo putting out maximum flash, maximum vibration, and that is the result right there. I'm not keeping fish today. I want to get this guy back in. He's hooked right in the corner of the mouth. There we go. Pop him off that hook right there like that. Get him back in the water. Let me show you that rig. Definitely slowed down a little bit this afternoon. We got a front moving through. I'm pulling a silver fisheye flasher, the 4-inch version, right under the surface. We're teaming that about 40 inches behind it with one of my micro turbos with a little piece of threaded worm. That fish came in, the flasher attracted him. He came in, he hit that worm 4 different times. Then he finally got hooked up, and what a fight. He's back in the lake, and I'm gonna get this back in the water. Maximum flash, maximum vibration, pair it with some natural bait, it puts fish in the boat under the toughest of conditions. Howdy guys, Kel Kellogg here. Well, I just got back from Collins Lake. We've completed our first 2 days of the guide season. We had 2 full charters. We had limits both days, or we had enough fish to take home limits both days. We let some go. We took some home for the pan. And overall, it was a great time. We had some laughs, and some folks asked some very good questions, and I learned some stuff from the folks that were out on our boat. Most of them were experienced trout fishermen. About half of them had their own boats, and they just wanted to join us out on the water to catch some fish, but more importantly, they wanted to learn how to elevate their own game when they're out in their own boat chasing trout, or when they're out with their buddy chasing trout in his boat. And I think we definitely accomplished that task. The number one thing that I learned, though, was that a lot of trout fishermen, when it comes to trolling, are confused about leader length. And I had several guys, comment they were shocked by the length of the leaders I was using. Now, we were rolling a lot of worms on slow death hooks, just like those there. That means the worm has action through the water. Or we were pairing worms with my micro turbos, which rotate and put out a bunch of vibration. And those were a couple of our most consistently successful baits. And I was pairing those with a couple different things. I was pairing them with willow leaf dodgers like that right there. And I was also pairing some of them with turbo flashers like that right there. Now, I was running those baits anywhere from about 30 inches to 40 inches behind the attractor, because those worms, those micro turbos, they have their own action. So there's no need for me to run my bait real close to the dodger or real close to the flasher. Now, what a lot of guys told me is they're running their baits right behind a dodger. If they're running like a fisheye pro like this, they're running their bait, right there, 12 inches behind the dodger. That's fine for a lure that doesn't have any action, a lure that you need the dodger to impart action to the lure, like a tube, something like that. With a tube, you want the dodger to impart that, surge, stop, surge, stop, surge, stop action. That's what causes a fish to strike. But if you're pulling a spoon, let's say you're pulling a a full-size trigger spoon like that, and it's, you know, a frog pattern trigger spoon, and you're pairing it with this 4-inch Fisheye Pro, there is no reason to get that spoon right behind the Dodger. Space it out 24, 30, 36, 40 inches away from the blade. In those situations, when you have a bait that has its own action, what you're using the blade or the flasher for is to draw fish into the vicinity of the presentation. Then they see the actual bait, and usually, you know, when they're drawn in by that attractor, they're feeling it in their lateral line. They move into the area, maybe they see the Dodger, maybe they see the flash and get closer, maybe they don't see it at all, but they see your offering, they see the bait, they see the spoon and think it's a minnow, they see that worm and I guess think it's a worm swimming through the water at a mile and a half an hour or whatever they think. They aren't super bright. They're on a different level than us. They're just kind of checking boxes in their little brain. The bottom line is the attractor, the Dodger, the flasher, it brings them into the area, and then they see the bait, they focus on the bait, and if all goes well, they hit the bait and we got a fish on the end of our line. Now, I've always thought, and I think it's true, and certainly you can catch fish with a spoon right behind a Dodger. I like to space mine out because I like to have a fair distance of line between the Dodger and the fish once he's hooked, because I think if they're closer, there's a better chance of them to get leverage against the blade and shake that hook loose. So that's one of the reasons I use a long leader. But just over the years, fishing with a lot of different guys, Gary Morales, Van Staplin, those guys, when they were pulling, you know, spoons or grubs, stuff like that, they never crowded the blade with the bait. I've applied that to my own style of fishing, and I found it to be true. My standard leader length when I'm using a Dodger or a flasher is anywhere, and I said this just a second ago, 24 to 40 inches. Space that out. Let the flasher bring the fish, you know, in close, and then they can see the offering and they can grab it. That big neon sign, it gets people into the restaurant so they can look at the menu and pick out what they want to eat. So kind of think about it that way. Anyway, that's one of the things that came out of my guide trips this weekend, was the fact that there just seems to be a little bit of confusion about leader length when it pertains to how far do you put a lure behind a Dodger or a flasher. And I certainly cleared that up for my clients, and I hope I cleared it up for you. I'd love to see you out on our boat, the FHS patio boat. We're pretty full this spring. We got a few dates available in May, but of course we'll be back out there again in the fall when things cool off after the summer, and we'll be chasing those Collins Lake rainbows then. If you're looking for gear, if you're looking for Fisheye Pros or any of the other gear you see me using here on the channel, you can go on over to fishhuntshoot.com, and I look forward to seeing you the next time right here on YouTube. I actually won't see you, you'll see me as I'm blabbering about trout fishing or whatever I got an itch to talk about. I'm Cal Kellogg. I want to thank you guys for all the support, and I will catch you next time right here on your smartphone or on your computer, wherever you watch YouTube at. I'm Cal Kellogg. Thanks a lot, guys. Trigger spoons, Trigger Spoon Magnums, Trigger Spoon Pros, Trigger Spoon Juniors, Speed Spoons, Speed Spoon Pros. Looking for spoons for your trout fishing adventure? Think FHS spoons. You can check them out at fishhuntshoot.com.